Law Sibayan, a marketing strategist, joins us to generously share his expertise, gain invaluable insights and actionable strategies to harness the power of digital platforms, optimize online presence, and carve a niche in today's competitive landscape. Discover how to leverage cutting-edge tools and techniques to amplify your brand's visibility, engage your audience, and drive meaningful growth.
In a middle-income family, when one gets sick, everybody gets poor. The goal is to actually educate them and inform them of the benefits of having an insurance. And it's good.
We are now open for business.
It is a signal to the world. We are open for business.
We are joined in today by a marketing professional whose expertise lies in crafting tailored strategies that maximizes resources while driving impactful results. In this digital age, businesses must learn how to navigate the dynamic landscape of marketing, empowering them to build robust brands, engage their audience, and achieve sustainable growth. Friends, please welcome Lawrence Law Sibayan, who's backed by more than a decade of marketing expertise, an adjunct professor in two leading universities for both undergraduate and postgraduate business courses. Welcome to Open for Business Law. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Caesar.
I think it's been how many years that we have seen each other?
It's been quite some time. I was probably a lot more slimmer during that time. A lot slimmer during that time.
Okay. So, working in a very prestigious healthcare provider during that time, we were already talking about strategic marketing. We were into business development. And I think based on your background, your exposure is into healthcare. How is marketing in healthcare different from the other industries?
Well, I would always say that it is the perfect playground for me. Getting into healthcare was, particularly in the business side of it, was a little incidental. I was supposed to go to med school, but I didn't. Instead, I went to business school. And during that time, I was looking for a place to work. And there's this hospital, and I thought, okay. And because I was also a licensed medical technologist, I thought of submitting my resume. And I remember clearly, I wrote there, I am applying for a job that they think would more likely fit my credentials. But during that time, I didn't have any. So I thought I was going to be part of the allied healthcare force, as a med tech. And to my surprise, they offered me a position in marketing. During that time, it was called industry relations. And that's how it started. Then that's how I also developed my personal advocacy. Because you know how we always say that healthcare is universal, but in reality, it is not accessible to all. So, and I had the perfect job during that time because I was serving, or my base of clients are more on the insurance. And that's how I also developed my personal advocacy on making healthcare accessible to everyone as much as possible. And I know that it will only be possible if they have an insurance, which is the customer that I was taking care of during that time.
But laws, they say, insurance is one of the hardest to sell. Kasi parang it's like you are selling them the future, or you're selling, similar to TV networks who are selling airtime, so which is intangible. So, yung karanasan mo ba yun? Parang it's good that you said it's not accessible to everyone. Gaano kahirap ang pagmamarket nun or pagbebenta nun?
Well, for the HMOs, for example, and for the insurances, a lot of the workforce today are very lucky because it has become an advantage, like a competitive advantage of one employer to another to provide employee benefits that is now multiplied to their dependents. So that is kind of secured, you know. But for a lot more Filipinos, there still has a lot of education that has to be done, you know, campaign, awareness. But if you are going to take a look at the top 10 spent of Filipinos, healthcare is actually one of the least. You know, it's not. I mean, it's probably among the top 10, but it's surprisingly one of the lowest among the top 10. You know, and that includes supposed to be their prepayment of an insurance of a health insurance.
Pero why is that so? Parang, you know, lack of education, lack of...
Yeah, because just like what you said, a lot of us Filipinos in particular are not aware of the benefits of having an insurance, particularly for health, you know. They don't know that there is this study that says that in a middle-income family, when one gets sick, everybody gets poor. You know, because that's the culture of Filipinos. You know,
lahat na ng ipon mo, lahat
and everybody gets poor because everybody has to chip in, you know, for the healthcare services, and not until they're able, or not until they're in that situation that they realize. And that's how marketing plays a very important role for this market, you know, because more than, you know, the sexy marketing that we are doing, the goal is to actually educate them, okay, and inform them of the benefits of, for example, having an insurance. And it's good that today we are working on our journey for universal health, but of course that will still take a long time. And until that is finally implemented, we are still always at risk for so much financial damage and the financial loss because of all these critical illnesses. And today, among the leading illnesses, the leading causes of death are those that will really run your well out.
Like what?
Like
Cancer.
heart attacks, cancer, strokes, you know. That has become my principle over time, working in the healthcare. And every time I get to talk to people, I always say that the work that I do is more of a privilege for me, because I don't think a lot of job will let you do something that you love and make a living out of it. And indirectly, you know, while you are not the doctor, you are not the nurse, or part of the healthcare force that takes care of the patient, indirectly, you are part of the team that actually either make these people live longer or make the most of the remaining times, you know, until they pass. So I've always thought that I'm lucky to be part of this kind of a marketing journey.
Okay, you mentioned about, you know, this privilege of marketing in this healthcare business, but you are exposed to that corporate healthcare, and you are your background is with the big brands in healthcare, which have marketing budgets. Ano ba yung nakikita mo na mga strategies doon na kayo ba in marketing, even with that, you know, where you have access to financial resources compared to MSMEs, yung small businesses, nililimitahan din ba kayo? Like say for example, I allot marketing budget of this only, but compared to MSMEs na maraming nanonood sa atin ngayon, paano kung wala silang malaking pondo katulad ng mga pondo ninyo? O lalo na pag sinasabi mo ngayon, education eh. When you talk about education, you have to either, you know, put out a lot of marketing efforts, marketing awareness efforts to promote the business. What are those strategies that you employ when it comes to resources? Medyo limiting siya.
Well, I think that mentality should be every marketer's mentality. That resources are always scarce, you know,
Okay.
and that you always think that your budget is limited.
Or zero.
Or zero, or
Uh-uh.
zero. So that, because that challenges you to be more resourceful. Like in our case, because we try to reach as much people, because where I work today, we are present in a lot of places. So you can just imagine the population that we're trying to reach. So we try to find ways in order for us to reach them more efficiently, you know. And then we work on strategies that will multiply those that we have reached, okay, so that they become ambassadors of our brand. Okay, so I think that's how you do it. You have to find strategies that will multiply by itself, instead of like allotting a particular budget for every person that you have to you want to reach.
Can you cite some examples, Lo? Like, say, for example, how can businesses leverage digital marketing tools, platforms to expand reach and improve their visibility? Pero magandang sinabi mo na you don't spend so much on one person or individual. I like what you said, that it should replicate.
Yes.
It should be replicated, but without you really putting finances there. Can you cite some examples of those strategies?
So for example, in healthcare, you know, this has always been a challenge working in healthcare, because it would always feel like, are you selling us sickness? Are you selling us treatments and
or
all?
fear.
But we have changed the messaging over time. Instead of promoting or making all these illnesses known, the messaging has become, you have to be well. You have to prevent this illness, and then that's the time that we get to discuss or talk about the illness. So, for example, if you wish to promote that your institution is supposed to be the go-to hospital for heart attack, I don't think it's morally right to say, once you get a heart attack, contact us, right? But the way you do it is you make use of the digital channels, because, you know, between the digital channels and the mainstream would still be more expensive nowadays,
yes.
right? But we know that the audience both have these channels to know exactly what our message is. So we strike a very good balance of allocating our budget between mainstream and digital channels. So we create contents, for example, utilizing our own social media assets or our own digital assets to reach out to our customers. And then how it gets replicated is, we encourage that after that has been watched by anyone, that it is shared to other people. So through that, we are able to make our marketing budget more efficient. And that is exactly what the MSMEs can actually do. You know, when you start a small business, marketing is probably one of the least budget that you would think of, because of course you want to allocate your budget for the operations, for the products, and all that. But there are ways that you can actually spend less this time. You know, the beauty about marketing is that, I always say this, marketing is a form of energy, and based on the law of conservation of energy, it is neither depleted nor created, right? It just changes forms, and that is what marketing exactly is.
And you have to be sustainable and leave others for the next generation.
Yeah, so marketing as an energy keeps its principles, its fundamentals. It's the same theories, the same concepts. It's just that this time we have iterated the tools and the channels because of the digital technology. But you know, your 4 Ps of marketing, your STP, and your most basic frameworks remain the same. It just changes on how are you going to utilize the digital tools that are available today? Because you may have all these digital tools, but if you don't know your target market, it will still fail. It always goes back to the fundamentals and the principles.
Basics talaga.
Yeah, but with all these digital channels, we are being offered of efficiency. Efficiency in reaching out to our market, efficiency in making our message and our brand known and recognized by our target audience. And what's good about this, particularly for MSMEs, there are solutions that either come really not that much. I mean, they are not that costly as compared to other big solutions, marketing solutions. In fact, there are actually some that are free, because these are brands that also have that social responsibility of extending their services to our MSME brothers and sisters and friends.
Now, going to, again, your background and expertise, what has changed so far in terms of the behavior of the customers? Of course, we can say that, more people are more digital savvy now, and a lot of the kids now are born with the with the Gen Z ba yun? Or, the next ones.
Yes.
Luma na nga ang millennial. So, what has changed that you now would want to somehow customize again to target them?
Okay. So, what has changed particularly during and now after the pandemic, for example, in my industry, is the health-seeking behavior. Before, they would just for simple cough and colds, they go to the hospital right away, and that's exactly why our healthcare costs are just going up, because there is no gatekeeping. Okay, so for example, for health-seeking behavior, because after the pandemic, they kind of like develop that fear that, okay, I will only go to a hospital when it is really medically necessary. Instead of going directly to hospitals, the customers have found other channels to seek medical care. I mean, the pandemic has heightened the health-seeking behavior. It does not particularly mean that the customers will go straight to hospitals.
The hospital.
Because
what will they do? What are alternatives?
Because there have been alternatives. Before, we go to the clinics every now and then, but for some reason, a lot of the customers today would go first into a clinic, particularly those that are in mall-based. And if they are not able to go there, because the pandemic has also kept us from moving, right? There have been alternative solutions in providing consultation to patients, which is through telemedicine. So a lot of the doctors and a lot of patients today get to do consultation online.
That's right. My family is one of them.
Right, and now again, going back to the principles, you have to understand the customer behavior. The very reason why they did not go to your facility is because it's probably traffic, or they find it hassle, or what have you, right? So you don't just stop, because as far as the customer journey is concerned, the business does not end in a consultation. There are laboratory procedures that may be done. There are medicines that may be prescribed. So what do you do now when you are already far from your customer because the consultation has actually happened online? So you bring the services to them. And that's how all these concepts of mobile laboratories, mobile x-rays, and even delivery of medicines come to us, because you have to complete the customer journey. But then again, it all stems from the very principle of marketing, of putting your customer at the core of everything that you do. Because if you did not understand your customer, what they wanted, or how their behavior has changed, you may not have thought about all these solutions for them. Gone are the days, in marketing, there are different concepts. There's what you call the selling concept, there's the marketing concept, and the product concept. It has always been product concept before, this is my product, I offer it to you, these are the benefits, and then that's when the customer decide, okay, I like this, and that's why advertising was so alive during, in the
Earlier
past,
days,
right?
yes.
But now it has changed. It has become marketing concept. You try to understand what the customer needs, what the customer wants, and that's when you develop a product, because for sure there's going to be someone that
There's
will
demand for it.
that there's going to be a group that will demand for it.
Ito, maganda tong question na to. What metrics or key performance indicators should MSMEs or anyone track to measure the success of their marketing campaigns?
Yeah. Before, marketing in any enterprise, and probably in SMEs, right, it is always seen a cost, and just a cost, because over time, there hasn't really been like concrete metrics how effective your marketing is, particularly if it's mass promotions
Yes.
and mass advertising, right?
Although there's a lot of formula in the books, but
Correct.
you
But
cannot easily track.
you cannot easily track. So what you do is you observe whether your business grows, and then you compare it against your probably advertising spend, and then that's your return of investment, and that's how you see how effective your marketing campaign was. But now, because of the technology, because of the digitalization, apart from the metrics of looking at or monitoring whether your business is growing, we are offered with a lot of metrics. For example, if you make use of social media, there are different social media engagement metrics that you can track. For example, the number of likes, the number of shares. You can even monitor if it were like a video content, you can monitor whether your customer has finished the video or in the middle has actually left the video, right? So that's a metrics. Before, we randomly we do this in sales, right? Like cold calls, cold emails, right? And it is different to track whether you are getting something out of it. But now, with all these digital tools, you are provided with instant data of your response rate, for example. If you sent 1,000, how many responded? And now you are able to track accordingly. So more than the growth in business, that is in general, when you create campaigns today, you can actually track what is working and what is not, because you can actually and finally put your customer in a real funnel from awareness to conversion. So for SMEs, and I think a lot of them would make use of social media because it comes free, while you don't have a marketing budget yet, for as long as you're able to create contents that are relatable, that are informational, and something that the market will like, you will be able to track the effectiveness of that particular marketing strategy.
Yeah, and speaking of that content, maybe you can use healthcare as an example. How do you create engaging content? You mentioned that content is really something, and you even mentioned about somehow changing your messaging to be able to promote your products and services. How do you do that in healthcare?
In marketing, there's like this quote: distribution is queen, content is king. In creating content, the most important thing is understanding who this content is for, right? Again, going back to your basics, who is your target market? And then from identifying your target market, you create a persona, and that persona will more likely be drawn to this kind of content, whether it's a video content, it's a static content or a static post. So that's where it all starts, understanding who this content is for, right? And then that's how you create. And now, before, it's like in your face, right? Advertising is like, okay, buy this, okay? And then all these like funny commercials for as long as it's funny and all that, even if some of them won't make sense. But now, a lot of our customers are looking for that, the sense in your content, okay? What is this content really about? Because it's all about relatability. You know, a customer will not spend for something that he can or she cannot relate with.
So or resonate with
right? Or resonate with, or something that does not communicate any value as far as he or she is concerned. So as far as content is concerned, you just really have to know who this content is for. And then once you have developed that content and you do a very good storytelling about that content, okay, whether static video or what have you, you choose the right channel. Again, goes back to basic, where are my customers at? And again, with all these tools that are available today, you would certainly know whether your content is working or not. Okay? Because content, I would always say, because it's one common mistake among enterprises, whether big ones, small ones, that they put a lot of content. It's like a content vomit in their digital
feeds,
assets, right? Okay, but it's all about timing as well. I would always go for quality over quantity. You know, because if you put a lot of content there, it does not also give your customers time to digest what that content is really for, right? So those are some of the more important things, particularly when we talk about content marketing, especially in this digital age.
Wow, very insightful. There's a lot of things to digest, from those insights, Law. But this one, what strategies can they employ to gather feed? Kasi sabi mo nga, content is king, and you observe them, what they like, and you give that. What do you have to do to somehow get customer feedback and develop that customer relationship with them?
Well, there's another tool. There's what you call the CRM, your customer relationship management tool, that now once your customer opts in, and you have a very good tool that now tracks the behavior of your customer as far as the digital space is concerned, that will give you a lot of information without the customer having to give you data or feedback just yet. But of course, a lot of the enterprises today would like those genuine feedback from the customer. So they provide tools, whether that's online, or if you're starting, you can also have like the conventional ways of getting your customer feedback.
Kaya nga, when I ask Marlon, for example, bibenta niyo ako ng CRM solutions, sabi nila mahal yon. But are there ways, are there free softwares where they can also develop that are available in the market?
Well, one can start with, the very simple ones. There are free forms that are available online. You make a free form, you create a QR code, there's a free QR generator also for that code, and then once your customer takes a shot of that QR code, gets directed to that free form that you've also done. The only thing is that it does not have yet the intelligence, the AI to process it. Okay, so if you are looking at getting customer feedback, you may start from there. But if you want a more robust CRM that would already analyze, like, okay, X number of your customers have disliked this, the most common sentiments are this, then you will certainly get the CRMs that are more expensive. But again, I know that this is one of the traits of an entrepreneur. There is always a way to do things. Start small, even for marketing. I always say this: start small little campaigns, and then from all these small little campaigns that you probably spend less budget for, or probably none at all, see what works, and that's the time that you now choose what you will make big.
And of course, Law, nothing beats face-to-face talking with your customer. And we do that a lot of times, especially in your business, because you deal directly with patients, institutions.
Yes.
Now, with your background, Law, you were cited as Asia's top outstanding marketer of the year. I know that you're very young, but you're so accomplished. But I'm so intrigued by the fact that when I was also working in a hospital, a lot of people were surprised because parang they always thought that when you work in a hospital or in healthcare, nurse ka or doktor ka,
Yes.
walang marketing doon. But somehow, with this achievement, with your exposure, with an organization like the Philippine Marketing Association, what are your key takeaways from the Philippine Marketing Association?
I guess over time, we can always, especially if your business is doing good, right? There is always that that danger of, okay, I'm already earning, okay, so our focus is growth, okay, without having to think of how you started and why you started. Okay? Marketing comes from the word market, okay? So that over time, I think it will only work if companies will truly and genuinely and sincerely put the customers at the center of everything that they do. One thing that never changed over time is how important customers in every business, whether that's for goods, for services. Customers are the center of everything that we are doing.
Wow. And another interesting related to that is, of course, as you mentioned, customer is at the center, at the core of all your initiatives. Pero while they are at the center, what affects them also is the idea of branding. Diba? Parang how do you create a good brand? In your case, I've seen your background, Law, these are already established brands. But you maintain that brand equity. Siguro before your strategies on creating or maintaining your brand equity, ano muna yung branding? Gaano kahalaga ang pagde-develop ng brand muna?
Branding is imperative for every enterprise, because it's the testament of your customers' recognition and perception of what you do as a business, and that's why it's important. It is not just your logo, your name, and your slogan. It encompasses all those things. Branding is about reputation. It's about perception. I'm sure this is not the first time that you hear it. Perception is reality as far as the customers are concerned. And because it is reality anyway, we might as well make a good perception about our company, the products, the services that we offer our customers, but also be true to our word. Because that's how you build the brand. You build the brand from trust. You build the brand with trust from your customers.
And as they say, I think it's one of the reasons why we have this word of the year, authentic.
Yes.
For them to relate and be true. But in your experience and in your exposure with the PMA, how long do you develop a certain brand to see that, wow, I developed a brand? Yeah.
I guess, cliche as it may sound, time is always relative. Especially at this time, we have seen the biggest brands that have closed shop during the pandemic. But we have also seen brands that have emerged during the pandemic and until today are still existing, right? So time is relative. It's really how you create a strategy in building the brand. And I guess, just like what I said, it's the customers that will build the brand for you more than you building the brand for them.
Wow. Okay. Law, another thing, in maintaining that brand, in maintaining your brand equity, here comes now market competition. In your case, in healthcare, diba, iilan lang kayo. Hindi na nga dumami na nga.
Oh, yes.
So sa dami-dami niya, diba, sa dami niya, andun na lahat. So, how do you now stand out?
I always say this, especially when I travel to promote not just my brand, but the Philippines as a destination for medical travel. When they come to the Philippines, a handful of hospitals would probably have the same x-rays, CAT scans,
Yes.
MRIs,
Yes.
would probably share the same doctors. In our industry, a doctor can go to multiple
multiple.
hospitals, right? Wherever it is convenient for their patients. So that kind of like levels the playing field as far as our industry is concerned. Now, you can also differentiate yourselves from others. You can buy new technology, the most advanced in the region or in the country, but that will be a very expensive competitive
That's right.
advantage,
Yes.
right? And if that is the case, you know how it works. If it's expensive, I mean, you will eventually have to pass it on to the patients. And if it's passed on to the patients, more patients will not have access to it. What we did is really see what the market needs. So we differentiate ourselves not among the services that are more likely being offered by others, but the experience that the patients get. And not just the patients, because here in the Philippines, when one patient goes to the hospital, that goes with what? 2, 3 relatives and other friends. We make it pleasant not just for the patient, but for everybody that steps in every facility of our brand.
Can you cite an example of that kind of experience? How do you let customers or patients experience that pleasantness or that kind of feeling?
Okay, so in our institution, there's what we call the red coat ambassadors. They are, how customer service people, you go to the counter, you ask for your directions and all that, and that's it. For our red coat ambassador program, we build human connection. They roam around the hospital, talk to random people, how their day was, if there's anything that they can do for them, would they like someone to talk to? That's how they do it.
Interesting.
It's about connection. It's not your usual transactional customer service.
Yes.
Customer service delivery of this way to this doctor's clinic and that. Our red coat ambassadors go around.
Why red coat? Are they wearing red coats?
Yes, they're wearing red coats, so you
Okay.
won't miss them. You are definitely not gonna miss them. But what's interesting about that? More interesting about that program is some of them are not even our employees anymore. Some of them are retirees from the hospital.
Some sort of volunteers na rin yun. Ganun ba yun?
Yes, because
okay.
that is what I think what has been lacking in a lot of businesses today, that human connection with all these digital tools and solutions that we have. It makes our life convenient, but that human connection is still what matters most to a lot of people at the end of the day.
Speaking of connection, speaking of that relationship, there's a lot of thought leaders who also guested here talking about that investment in establishing a connection. How do you keep and maintain that connection or engagement with that customers?
Okay, that's what's challenging in our industry, because unlike, for example, shampoo or soap, they would buy that over and over again. Once you get your kidney out, you cannot do that again the next year or the next year or the next year, right? So it's a different model that we do. I mean, we don't invite you to come to the hospital for another nephrectomy, okay? But we invite you to come to our hospital to keep you healthy and well. And that's how we get in touch, through human connection as well. Of course, they are no longer in the hospital. We have identified channels where they are. Our social media is very strong at this point. We have a website that they can go to any time, and we are creating solutions to reach us for whatever things that they may need. And we have also this program, what we call continuity of care. So we actually proactively call the patients, and then we remind them if they have a schedule, for example, after they get discharged for a week. You know, because patients sometimes after they get out of the hospital, I'm okay already.
I don't want to go back.
Yeah, but that's very important. And of course, we also make the most of the available solutions right now in tracking the health and wellness of our customers and our patients.
You also teach a lot of the feedback coming from the thought leaders who guested here. Hindi tumutugma yung ibinibigay ng academia, ng academic institutions dun sa real world. So, is that also what you see now, or are there changes already in the educational system that lets the academic institutions provide what the market needs?
I cannot deny the fact that there is a gap between academe and actual practice. But there are ways to fill those gaps. So, for example, I've been working with the Philippine Marketing Association, and that's what we've been trying to do, to bridge that gap between practice and academe. And I know that at this point, a lot of the academic institutions are really working their way in order for them to bridge the gap. You know, for example, they are now incorporating actual business cases, partnering with companies, for example. They get them as a case sponsor. Example, for if I teach this subject, I get you, and then my students will be doing the plan. And sometimes it does not end with the plan. They even involve the students in implementing the plan. But of course, the students cannot work for as long, right? But those are some of the things that we are trying to do from the academe in order for us to bridge this. And alam mo naman kasi, Cesar, the education system is very bureaucratic. So the curriculum mo, you have to follow certain syllabus, certain things, because that's just how it is. So in terms of agility, we are not able to do that. We are not as agile in the academe, especially with all the trends. I mean, in marketing, sabi ko nga, what you are doing today is probably something that no one will ever do tomorrow anymore. It's that fast. So that's where the gap is, and that's the reason why the gap just keeps getting bigger, longer. If I can call it that way, because the practice is moving twice as much, if not more, than how the academe is. So I think that's the only time that we're able to bridge that finally is if there are certain, relaxation on how we do things in the academe, so that they can move together on how the practice is actually moving.
But it's good, Lon, that you are a practitioner, kasi somehow you have that kind of flexibility to adapt, what you're doing in the corporate world to the academic.
Yes, that's true. Actually, when I started teaching, Cesar, I thought that it was going to be stressful because, all these lesson plans and all that. But, teaching keeps me grounded. Because when you're a practitioner, you think that, I know how to go about these things already. But, over the more than 5 years that I've been teaching both graduate and postgraduate students, there are things that I would always say, how could I have not thought about that? And that's how
you
it
learn
keeps,
from them as well.
Then that's how it keeps me grounded. So I don't think it will be difficult to bridge that. The practice and academe. And I think that's the reason why a lot of universities today also are getting practitioners as educators in order for them to, okay, this is a different way of teaching things, more like practical. because theories they can always read it, okay, but the practice is something that they have to be immersed with as early as possible.
Wow, that's the best way to end this conversation. There's a lot of insights that we learned this afternoon. No doubt that's his Asia's top outstanding marketer of the year. Our buzzword of the week is chatbot marketing. Chatbot marketing or bot marketing is a technique that leverages automated messaging to communicate directly with customers throughout the purchasing journey. The digital realm offers boundless opportunities for MSMEs to thrive. By implementing the fundamental strategies, you're equipped to harness the power of digital platforms, craft compelling stories, and engage your audience in meaningful ways. Keep exploring, experimenting, and leveraging these insights to propel your business forward. Your journey towards marketing success in this digital era has just begun. And with that, our quote for the week is, marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but about the stories you tell. That's from Seth Godin, blogger and author. Thank you, Law. Maraming salamat sa iyo sa isang oras na pagsama sa amin upang tunghayan ang isang makabuluhang usapan ukol sa negosyo dito lang sa Open for Business hanggang sa susunod na linggo. Samahan niyo kaming muli dito sa Open for Business. Catch us on Facebook, on YouTube. Like and subscribe on our social media page at Net25TV. We will bring you more insights from industry experts, thought leaders, CEOs, and featured SMEs. Together, let us help encourage business development in the Philippines. Sharpen your business acumen, feel the pulse, and set the trend for as long as you're informed and open for business. Ito po si Cesar Vallejos. Marami pong salamat.